Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the apparently glitchy jumpy Lamborghini Centenario in multiplayer in Asphalt 8. This is the first of two videos probably about this car. This one is at a rank of 1609, the next one will be at a rank of 1699. So the tuning right now is 0505050, the standard speed tune, and although you cannot win the car at this rank, I figured I would see how it would do at this tune. The reason I have the car at this rank is I was gifted this car to do the preview on the Asphalt channel, and so I was able to upgrade it to a lower rank than most people were able to use it. So I figured that if nothing else, it would be a pretty unique test. So this first race was actually recorded when I had not upgraded quite this much. There you can see some glitchy jumps again. I'm at rank like 1575 in this race only, I believe, and the reason I put it in was it was so crazy. So I'm faster than this MP48 here, but for whatever reason, we just had these weird times and he went right over me there, somehow didn't knock me down, and we were pushing each other to the side, flying everywhere. The whole thing was just crazy. And I just knew that I had to put this race in the video, even if it wasn't at the tune that I was going to be testing at. It was just so crazy. It was only one lap. Thankfully, I was able to get ahead, and since my speed is better, he's not going to be able to catch up, and thus we were able to come in first. But it's not by much, and I'm still surprised about him going over me like that even happened, and then my car takes a selfie. This race is definitely one for the books. At this point, I had been risking points for a while, and thus matchmaking was pretty good. Everybody else in the race was lower ranked. They were in Pro League, and I was in just Challenger. Yes, I haven't been playing multiplayer all that much, so I went up quite a bit in that race. Now, this is a race against two MP48s, as well as a Porsche Carrera GT. Now, you may remember I made a video about the Porsche Carrera GT. I called it like a modern Camaro or something like that. It was able to reach a very high speed at fairly low ranks again. However, this car has better other stats. It has better acceleration than that car, and while the speed may be lower, its other stats, which are better, like, as I said, the acceleration, also the drifting and handling are better, possibly the nitro efficiency too, not sure about that. They both have good nitro efficiency. But anyways, this car is definitely better than the Carrera GT, and since I'm able to get ahead, and we have a twisty part of the track here, he's not going to be able to catch up. So when driving this car, I found it to feel quite a lot like the Apollo. While it may look like it wouldn't feel like that, especially if you've driven in Asphalt 9, it does not feel that way. It feels rather clunky and not so great in Asphalt 9. In this game, it actually drives very well, whips around those corners quite nicely, handles well. Overall, it just feels like an amazing car to drive, and it drifts well, unlike the X2. So while the X2 can beat the Centenario on pretty much all tracks at Max Pro, this car might be able to win on ones like Sector 8, where the X2 kind of struggles a bit in the final turn. And in this race, we beat the Carrera GT and reach Pro League. You'll notice that the races are not sequential. This is due to the fact that because my rating was so low, I was facing mostly not so great cars. Like the best things I faced on normal occasions were the M2SE, which just knocked me down, and the MP48. So the ones I put in this video were either the rare races where I had some good competition, like an R8 SE, which we will see later in the video, multiple ones actually, and the Porsche Carrera GT in the previous race, or where interesting things happened, like that MP48 thing in the first race, or getting knocked down here and having to come back. Those ones that I just kind of got ahead and overshot everybody, which was like half the races I played with this car, I didn't put in the video, because nobody wants to see that kind of boring video. So you may be wondering, why did I title this video Queen of the Game? Well, it's because the X2 is the king of the game, since it can beat this car on almost all tracks, but this car can beat the Apollo IE on all tracks, I believe. So the Apollo IE is now like the prince of the game. Generally, I just call the top three cars in the game King, Queen, and Prince, respectively. Although, I don't know how I can say generally, since this is the first game I've done that with. Anyways, let's move on. So we are getting first in this race after getting knocked down by the M2SE because of our greatly superior speed to that car. This car at this rank can go 304 or 5 miles per hour. It can flip between them. So we see a Corvette C3 in this race. Now this was interesting. He beat both the M2SEs. The Corvette C3 is one of those very weird cars that's super obscure. Hardly anybody will ever use it in multiplayer, so that's why I was so surprised to see that. But yet it's not bad. Like, it can be faster than the M2SE, possibly not beat it since its other stats are not especially great, like the acceleration is kind of bad, so is the drifting, but still, it's at least average, definitely better than average, I would say. I did make 2 videos about it, so check those out if you would like to see how a very obscure car like that performs. I'd actually bought it for 6,000 tokens when it was on sale for that. Most of the people that probably have it now bought it for the new credit price. But you're still not going to see many of them in multiplayer because, well, frankly, nobody knows that it's any good, because it just really doesn't feel like it is, and not really many people have talked about it. Enough about the C3. In this race, our main competition, the guy that you can barely see on the map, well, now you can see him better, is an Apollo IE that is a good, like, 57 rank above us, I think. He's at 1666. I believe he wrecked around the initial turn, and that's why he got so far behind to begin with, but the second lap passes without him catching up, and we come in first place. This race may not have been all that close, but the beginning of the next race certainly is. We're going to be facing an R8 SE. The R8 SE in this race is at 1600 rank, and actually in the next 2 races in this video, we are also going to be facing R8 SEs. It was after I reached Pro League that I started getting a bit better of competition. Now, as you will see in this race, the R8 SE is definitely slower. The R8 SE at Max Pro can reach 297 miles per hour approximately, and this guy probably did have that speed since you can reach it at a lot lower than Max Pro. Now, this car at this rank can go 304 or 305, which is 7 to 8 miles per hour faster, and thus less than 30 seconds into the race, we already managed to pass him. When you have a speed difference this great, and when your acceleration is at least average, this car's acceleration is definitely better than average, you can usually have a pretty good chance of beating those R8 SEs. As you can see around that turn, this car does have quite good drifting, especially if you drift punch, it can be quite sharp. I've hit the inside sometimes in this car, even with 0 handling upgrades, so be careful. Throughout the second lap, we slowly pulled further and further ahead, and then crossed the finish line for the victory. He was also triple boosted. There is nothing really else in that race. That is what happened a lot as well. I'd have 1 or 2 other cars in the race that were good, and then a bunch of GTA Spanos and FXXKs and stuff. There, the R8 SE knocks us down. This is a 2-lap race, so I was pretty sure I was going to be able to beat them. However, I wasn't sure just how quickly I'd be able to pass them, and that's what I wanted to see. And it ended up that I was able to pass them pretty quickly. Here I go a bit over to the right so that he doesn't land on me, which thankfully he did not, and here we passed the MP48, and then we're going to pass the cigars. This car really has a lot of things going for it. The speed is probably the main thing, but coupled with that, it has the good pretty much every other stat. It's a very well-rounded car. Again, it feels a lot like the Apollo IE, so if you didn't manage to get this car, but you do have the Apollo, you know kind of what it feels like. A little bit of personal Asphalt news. I have unlocked the Icona through its event, so I now have 197 cars. I will be going for the Infinity in its R&D, and I'm going to at least start the Arash R&D to get some V8 engines for the Infinity. Not sure if I'm going to be going for the Arash or not. This is like the 4th rerun, I know, so it would be great if I got it. I just don't know if I want to suffer through all those tests. We'll see. So we come first in this race, and that R8 SE was actually the same one we met in the previous race. Oxtai Kestrel, or whatever his name was, at 1600 rank. The second place car was the TVR Cigarist. Last was the unboosted MP48. That just gives so bad of speed for its rank. And here, we get knocked down again. By wouldn't you know it, the same R8 SE. He probably had it in for me after me beating him 2 previous times, one of those times him knocking me down as well, so I tried to play especially hard in this race to be able to catch up and beat him for a 3rd time. We will see what happens. So now it's time for my general review of the car. It is a good car. Unfortunately, I would not say it was worth the R&D simply because it would cost 13,000 tokens just to upgrade it because there were no free upgrades. If you had some free S upgrades, that would probably make it worth it, but for the majority of people who didn't, I mean, if you have the X2 and the Apollo, you really don't need this car. If it wasn't so hard to get, yes, I would definitely say this car is completely worth it because it's the 2nd best car in the game, but with how that R&D was, I don't know. But if you managed to get it, congratulations, you have the 2nd best car in the game, upgrade it, and you can do some great things with it, especially at 1699 rank, as we will see in my next video about it. And we beat this R8 SE for the 3rd time. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 and 9 content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!